For the last two expansions, WoW has harbored an open secret that gearing is just far too complicated, that you need add-ons or a reference guide just to upgrade your gear right, that you need that raid bot sub. I mean, when do you spend your catalyst charges? When do you get more charges? What crests upgrade what gear? Why can't you upgrade heroic gear from a heroic raid? And why are all of our sparks fractured? These are the sorts of things that if you play WoW every single season, you don't really have a problem. But for a lot of other people, it's completely confusing and it just doesn't make basic common sense. And here's where there's massive good news. The new alpha build has fixed most of these problems. It's also loosened some of the add-on restrictions. Blizzard have also updated the cooldown manager with text-to-speech alerts. That's quite huge. They fixed a massive transmog farming issue. And, well, actually, with Midnight, getting full mythic tier sets will be extremely simple. It's been a hell of a week for the news, so strap in. Now, have you ever rolled a fresh endgame character, inhaled a few guides, and done rubbish DPS because basically you're still new and you haven't actually practiced? Well, back in the day, that's how coding, when all you were really doing is a university course, kind of felt. But with today's sponsor, boot.dev, you're going to get both the best way to learn backend development and one that is made specifically for you, a gamer. Quite literally, because Boot is structured like a community RPG. It is one with soul, and the founder, Lane, actually hit me up years ago because he's also a WoW player and he's designing it for people like us who want to learn back-end development. Back then they were new, but now over 750,000 students completed 33.7 million lessons. And Boot is all about learning back-end development from the fundamentals through to advanced career-focused training. You'll be doing personal projects for your portfolio and guided projects, like this really fun one of making a Pokedex. But here's what actually matters: knowing the real fundamentals. It's easy to fire up, say, V0 or Cursor and make some cool, as they say now, vibe-coded stuff. But very often, well, when you do that, you may not know the fundamentals. That can often lead to funny and security nightmare-like results. But with Boot, well, you'll actually know the fundamentals, and the learning paths are in either TypeScript or Go, which is a fantastic thing. I'm so glad they added TypeScript. It's all well designed, super motivating because of the RPG structure. It's got goddamn boss fights in it, and it's really fantastic. You'll get 25% off your first purchase at boot.dev/Bellular, and if you're not happy, well, they will refund you on the spot with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, let's get into the simplification of gearing. So we heard from Ian in the Q&A that Valor Stones would be removed from the game, and everybody celebrated, of course. I mean, that was just good news. But we also heard that crests would be simplified. We didn't really know what that means, but the good news is that we now do. So over in the Midnight Alpha, all crest names and descriptions have been updated, meaning that it looks like this, which is quite different. You'll see it all starts one stage earlier at Adventurer, and it still goes all the way up to Myth. But the fantasy names have actually changed. So Carved and Runed are no longer called Carved and Runed. Now the crests simply share the name of their upgrade tracks. So if you want to upgrade a hero item, all you need is hero crests. That is simple, that is intuitive, it's much better. Now, there's some other things. We don't know how drops have changed to match this, and there is one minor little concern here. You see, there used to be an overlap in the upgrade tracks, right? And Blizzard's idea of making it so that when you needed mythic crests to finish your heroic item, well, the whole point was that would nudge you towards doing the next tier of content. That appears to no longer be the case, and that would mean that, say, finishing your hero item with just hero crests, well, now that serves as more of a natural stopping point. To some people, that could be a bad thing. To others, though, it could just mean they feel like their character is finished. That could be good. Now, there's other things that may change, like item levels and gear sources. Obviously, we don't know all of that, but for now, this looks much easier to follow and understand. And trust me here, if you don't think this is a big deal, I think you'd actually be surprised. It's very easy for those of us who play every single season to just get lost in the sauce and take all these things for granted. But trust me, for newer players or people who are just getting into like properly playing a season, this shit was way too complex, didn't make sense to them. So basically, this is a good change. So that's good news for gearing, but originally, all those changes came with a big downside. The lack of a difficulty overlap threatened people's transmog farming. As an example, a normal raid item would no longer upgrade its appearance to the heroic one. And the good news is that after some very polite feedback over in the forums, Blizzard have changed their minds here. And now, whenever an item is fully upgraded, they will upgrade in appearance as well. So that would mean that you can get mythic sets by fully upgrading your heroic version. And that would mean no more having to go out of your way to get the right crest. So that's fairly huge. And on the topic of gearing, let's talk about the Catalyst charges. There's a huge upgrade coming to the Catalyst to make it even easier. And we've all been there. You want your 4 set as soon as is possible, but you're afraid of upgrading a veteran piece that you know won't go the distance. You know that if you do, a champion or a hero one will drop right away, and that'll just leave you feeling, stuck for 2 weeks, waiting for a charge. Well, it's a bit complicated, but there's now a very smart change coming in the Midnight expansion. Getting your 4 set bonus will unlock a Feat of Strength achievement, and once you've got that achievement, you'll be able to find more Catalyst charges, where basically they'll drop randomly from Raid, Mythic Plus, Elves, and PvP. So, if you find a big upgrade and you want to catalyze it, all you have to do is play more until you get a charge. And honestly, this one is huge for the transmog farmers as well. You'll now have way more charges to get the rest of your tier appearances. That's fairly huge. And do remember, by the way, that unlocking a class set gets you all of the lower difficulties as well. So, fairly huge changes. And what I want to do next is combine this all to get a picture of Midnight gearing. Get a load of this. If you combine all the changes I've talked about thus far in the video, you realize it's simple to get every single color and every item for your class sets in Midnight. You just need to play the game. So as an example, from doing Mythic Plus in the 4 to 8 range or Heroic Raid, you will collect the 3 pieces necessary. Those being 1, hero gear for every armor slot, 2, enough Catalyst charges to change them all into tier, and then 3, enough hero crests to upgrade them. You can get that all from that level of content. You just need to max them all out and catalyze them, and bam, done. You'll have your sets. And it doesn't even matter what order you do that stuff in, and it really is that simple. But there's another change to make things just a bit more simple as well, and that is fractured sparks. They're no longer a thing. Now you'll just find sparks, but you'll need 2 to make an item. So what that is, right, is basically the exact same in terms of your sparks, but it's a little bit more simple for people because you just need to get 2 of the same item instead of getting 2 baby items that you then need to turn into one of the item that you actually want. Basically, it's Blizzard just removing some steps. So, that's it for gearing. For now, it's really good news, but it's only the start of today's news video. Okay, this one is a developing story for now, and that's by Blizzard's own admission. What they've done is they've loosened restrictions on certain add-on APIs, specifically around tooltips and cooldown controls. And now, the upshot is that add-ons can pass secret values in. That may seem like a bunch of techie stuff, but basically, to make it simple, this just means there will be at least a little bit more freedom with what can be customized and shown to you by an add-on. But the most noteworthy part is Blizzard says more changes are coming in Alpha 3, which is next week's wave. That should be fairly soon indeed. And certainly looking at the top comments about our coverage of the add-on apocalypse, it really seems clear that the add-on changes broadly are making loads of people really happy, that they don't want add-ons to be clogging up the combat design of World of Warcraft. And honestly, I do sympathize. Actually, more than that, I agree. I actually agree with that. And this week's update doesn't seem like a philosophical change on that from Blizzard's end. What it is to me is them trying to make sure that the aesthetic-only customizations are still possible. Now, for what it's worth, WeakOr has tweeted a rather sharp no in response, which perhaps tells you all you need to know. Now, they followed up by saying that these Alpha 2 changes don't mean anything to them. I think to the rest of us, it's a good sign, but obviously, we'll have to wait until Alpha 3 to see what Blizzard's full plan is. Obviously, one downside of the add-on changes is a lot of accessibility stuff, right? People with disabilities would often be using add-ons to get around issues, and that really opened up the game and made it playable for them. Now, Blizzard are not suddenly doing anything huge in that front, but there is one really good update in this alpha, and that is text-to-speech has been added to Blizzard's Cooldown Manager. And not just added, by the way. They have taken it very seriously. It's really good. So there's a list of changes here that allow for crazy customizations and overlapping alerts. And that would mean, as an example, if someone struggles with sight, well, now they can hook up text-to-speech alerts for their cooldowns and their abilities in the game itself. So that's fantastic for accessibility. Now, that being said, Blizzard can't really do this for things like the boss alerts, because if they were to do that, then we would in some ways be back at square one with add-ons. But the good news there, well, that's that recent bosses have been really good with specific voice lines that announce their abilities. And looking at all this effort, I think Blizzard are quietly taking accessibility seriously. They're just not committing to things publicly. Obviously, it would be good if they did. And that's not the only UI update either, there are some other things. Nameplates and the cooldown manager have both got some minor, but very welcome changes. Thus far, it's a great rate of improvement, so maybe we can have a little bit more faith that these will be good enough to use at release. That being said, there is still no sight of the damage meters or the raid frame changes. I guess here's to hoping they'll be there in Alpha 3. You may have seen a funny thing that with the launch of Legion Remix, everyone who made a druid instantly unlocked all of the Mage Tower Bear and Cat form appearances. This was an oops, and Kaivax did confirm that this was a bug, and they're working on rolling it back. Now, the language he specifically used was, quote, could use bear and cat forms that they did not earn. So basically, that's a fairly hard line in the sand for Blizzard there, that, you know, you logged in, you got these things, but it was a bug, you didn't earn them, and because you didn't earn them, you're not going to be keeping them. Now, this obviously brought up the topic of time-limited rewards and prestige for World of Warcraft, for approximately the millionth time. And for Blizzard, it's a worse storm of PR, because they had all of that debate over the Mage Tower with Legion Remix, and then when the bloody thing launches, they have a bug that incorrectly gives people Mage Tower things. Oh man, that's so perfect you almost imagine someone sabotaged it on purpose. Anyway, the conversation around this has not led to anything. Blizzard have not yielded on their sort of line here. But given how carefully worded their response was, I think they know what people think. Maybe this is the first step to having those things being opened up again in the future. We'll just have to wait and see. As for Legion Remix itself, well, it launched very broken for the first day. People had to Alt F4 and wait to get back in, and it turns out that handing quests into Khadgar somehow was bricking the game. Loads of server issues also showed up, even outside of Remix, because everything was being hammered. And it seems that it was fine towards the end of the day. I can say that personally, I was still getting quite a bit of lag, like nighttime on EU launch day. So a little bit weird, and honestly, it's another data point in a worrying trend. Like, expansion launches are generally fine, but it's almost every patch launch we've had that's been broken or frustrating in some way for at least a day. I mean, do you remember trying to do the Nightfall event? That was one of the worst launch days I've seen in a long time. And there's an unfortunate upshot, and that basically is that until Blizzard gets a handle in this stuff, the main takeaway is just to wait a day or two to actually play WoW after a patch. And I kind of hate having to say that, because patch day should be the most exciting thing in an MMO. Anyway, I just say, wait a day or two and save yourself the frustration. As for Legion Remix itself, at least from what I can tell, it seems like it's doing quite well. I've been having fun. We'll have a more detailed video on it next week, but since people are already clearing Mythic Emerald Nightmare as of the first day, I think Blizzard may have done a good enough job in bringing the player power scaling to where people actually wanted it to be. So it seems that all of that stuff in the PTR really did pay off. This is an old drama, it's a big drama, and maybe this is nothing, but I do have to bring it up. A senior quest designer asked the community, quote, for fun, I sure knew this would be fun, what would the high elf racial mount be? Because, you know, in theory, if they were to become an allied race. Now, the correct answer, as everybody pointed out, is an updated Keldori steed from Wrath of the Lich King. That's a unicorn, and, well, that's actually been their emblem since Warcraft 2. So that's that question answered, but, I mean, I know the person involved said, for fun. Does feel like a little bit of a tease though. And obviously, given that Midnight is about unifying the elves, a patch 12.2 high elf allied race would not be an unthinkable thing. I mean, Verisa Windrunner has got a new model, and she will be present in patch 11.2.5. So they could already be laying down the groundwork. In fact, I think this would be a natural place for the story to go as well. Now, I'm not promising you anything, but if I was putting money on it, I would say Alliance High Elves, honestly. So, this week we've seen major progress on loads of different fronts. That's it for the news, but we've got a massive breakdown of the surprisingly huge patch 11.2.7 that's coming up soon, as well as our look into Legion Remix. As for right now, well, check out this video on what I would say is the largest change in WoW's history, the Addon Apocalypse.